G'day there guys, relatively large forehead here, back at it again with another episode of r/Am I the A-hole. Now if you love today's content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy the video. Posted by user IllegalBeagleCCFGH, titled, Am I the A-hole for telling my niece she was a product of infidelity? My niece is 17, and she's kind of a tramp to her parents, especially her mum, my sister-in-law. About 17 years ago, my man-tramp of a baby brother had an affair with some random woman that he worked with. His wife of 5 years forgave him, even after finding out that the woman he was with was pregnant with my brother's baby. 9 months later, out pops my niece. Unfortunately, my niece's mother passed away very soon after she was born, so my brother had full custody of her. Unbeknownst to me, they have been telling my niece that she is the biological daughter of my sister-in-law. A few weeks ago, I had a baby boy of my own and have been FaceTiming my brother and sister-in-law regularly to show him off. This is when I FaceTimed my sister-in-law, and about 10 minutes in, I heard the voice of my niece. She was yelling about some teenage nonsense at an incredible volume. My sister-in-law called her down and asked her to quiet down. My niece came down and started screaming expletives in my sister-in-law's face. My sister-in-law, not wanting me to see this, told me that she would call me back after she finished dealing with her daughter and hung up. About half an hour later, she called me back in tears and confessed to me she didn't know how to handle her daughter anymore. I consoled her until the end of the FaceTime and immediately was furious with my niece. I messaged her over Facebook and told her off. One of my messages was, "You don't understand how blessed you are to have your mum. She doesn't have to be there for you. She could have left your dad when she found out about you." I didn't receive a message back. That night, I get a call from my brother asking what I told his child. I told him exactly what I said, and I really don't regret it. Long story short, her parents ended up needing to tell her that she was the product of her father's affair and was not related to her mother. For this, my brother called me a massive expletive and said that I fractured his family. I argued back, saying I realized she didn't know her mum wasn't her biological mother for a little before he hung up on me. Am I the a-hole? Look, I phrased this incorrectly. When he asked, I told him I don't regret what I told her. Then, he told me that they had to explain that their daughter was a product of infidelity. I do very much regret being the first person to tell the niece the circumstances of her birth. Yes, OP, it is not your place to be telling the niece that. That's on the parents when they're ready. And you said it in the middle of an argument where the mum clearly can't handle the teen. You honestly chose a star-aligning moment to destroy these people's lives. I can't imagine how that daughter is feeling now, and it's all because of you. She didn't have to find out in this way. She could have found out later in life when she could have been more accepting of it. Who knows? Either way, it's not your place to tell them, and the way you did it was the biggest dick way that I can even think of. Not big dick in a good context. This is small dick energy. Big, small dick energy, OP. Stop it. You're the a-hole. She is only the product of her father's infidelity, not the cause of it. How dare you make it seem like she is the problem in all of this? She's only a teenager and not even yours. You're the a-hole. I was actually so torn about this, because from an outsider's point of view, what OP said is technically correct, and if I were the niece, I would definitely feel a lot more grateful towards my mum if someone said it to me. But, and not even yours, gave me some clarity, because it really isn't OP's place to talk to a niece, teenager no less, about her dad's infidelity, and she's kind of a tramp to her parents, man-tramp of a baby brother. Makes it sound like OP just loves judging people and sticking her nose in other people's business. You're the a-hole. Edit. A lot of replies have raised good points about the niece's a-hole-ish behavior towards her mum, and I was almost convinced to change my judgment to everyone sucks here, but then I remembered that most happy, well-raised 17-year-olds don't exhibit that kind of behavior. I understand that there are genuinely mean 17-year-olds, but in this case, I don't feel like there is enough information about the niece to call her an a-hole as well. Edit. A lot more replies have raised individual anecdotes objecting to my edit. I'm not saying all happy teenagers don't blow up, or that all unhappy teenagers do. I'm just trying to say there can be other reasons for her behavior other than being an a-hole, including mental health, as other people have raised. We don't know enough about her to say. We don't even know what teenage nonsense she was yelling. Sounds like OP could learn a thing or two about forgiveness from her sister-in-law. Cheating is a deal breaker for a lot of people, but not for everyone. Some people are understanding or just accepting of flaws and are able to find forgiveness in their hearts. If sister-in-law forgave OP's brother, then it might just be because she truly loves him and would rather forgive him than living bitterly without him. And that's their fudging business. If OP wants to be bitter about her brother's infidelity, that's her problem. She needs to get off her high horse and stay out of her brother's business. Well, not only that, she needs to leave the parenting of their child to them. I cannot even fathom why she thought it was appropriate to send any Facebook message in the first place, regardless of if she mentioned the sister-in-law not being the bio mum or not. You're the a-hole. Even if your niece had known she was adopted, your message was unreasonable, inappropriate, and downright cruel. The fact that you revealed the secret was icing on the cake. I cannot imagine how you, as a parent, can possibly think it would be appropriate to mind an adopted child that they are lucky their adoptive mother didn't leave. It is totally normal for 17-year-olds to argue with their parents. It is not normal for adults in their life to weaponize the fact that they are adopted as a behavior management tool. I cannot possibly overstate how much you overstepped here. Edited to add, also, yeah, the niece sucks for cursing at her mum or whatever, but OP's reaction was just so wildly inappropriate and over the top and emotionally abusive that I'm going with the full you're the a-hole over everyone sucks here. Posted by user Mechanical Pencil Supum, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my mother that it's her own fault she'll never get biological children? Edit, just noticed the error in the title meant grandchildren. I'm in my early 30s, and I got my first period when I was 9 years old, and they've always been gruesome. More blood than anyone could ever imagine. Cramping so bad that I had to miss school and couldn't eat or drink or do anything because the pain was so bad. In my mother's eyes, I was a faker, making things up for attention to get out of tests. She refused to take me to the doctors or anything, and I wasn't even allowed pain meds. Well, when I moved in with my then boyfriend at 27, he convinced me to go see a doctor because that wasn't healthy. And I did. I later got diagnosed with a rare reproductive issue, vague for privacy, that essentially could have been fixed if caught earlier, but it wasn't. The issue had gone on for long enough that the damage was pretty much irreparable. In the end, I was basically given the choice of surgery A, which would leave me infertile with less complications and a lower fatality rate, or surgery B, which would leave me fertile, but with a higher risk of complications and death due to the severity of my issue. I chose surgery A. I can no longer have biological children. My then boyfriend and I are now married, and we're looking into other options to have a child. We are heavily leaning towards adoption, and I confided in my mother about this. Big mistake. She started scolding me and basically told me that I had to have biological children. She told me if I didn't have bio kids, then I was a failure of a woman, and how dare you let the bloodline die. Or something like that. She told me that if we adopted, then she would do everything in her power to make me and my husband look like terrible people so that it fails. And, the icing on the cake, she told me that I should just reverse the surgery. I can't do that. It's physically impossible. It's not like getting my tubes tied. I literally no longer have a uterus or ovaries or any of it. There is no way to reverse this surgery. I went off on her. I explained that, and I explained that if she were a competent parent who actually did her job, then I wouldn't be infertile. I explained to her that if she had taken me to see doctors sooner, I wouldn't have to consider adoption. I called her a terrible mum and a terrible person, and I told her that if I ever do adopt a child, she would never get to meet them. She went silent and then hung up. Hasn't said a word to me since. But now every woman in the family is calling me a useless tramp and a horrible daughter. Even family I haven't seen since I was a baby. Now I'm wondering if I went too far or something. Reddit, am I the a-hole? Edit. Something several people have brought up now is how come I didn't go to the doctor before I was 27? For 9 years, my mum told me that I was overreacting and that I was a faker and that what I was going through was normal. I was just overreacting. That kind of conditioning is really hard to get over, and for a long time, my mum was the only woman in my life who was actually aware of periods and things. Sure, if I'd gone earlier, my condition likely wouldn't have been as bad, but I still would have suffered. Honest to God, I had no one in my life to tell me that my symptoms were absolutely not normal, until I moved in with my husband. He witnessed firsthand what one of my periods looked like, and told me that if I didn't go see a doctor, he would drag me to one by one of my belt loops. My point is, I never went to see a doctor before I was 27, because I was brainwashed into thinking I was overdramatic. No, and I'm really sorry to hear about your troubled past, OP. Your mum sounds like a piece of work, and you did not deserve to go through any of that. That's disgusting. I think we can all agree here that your mum is the a-hole in this situation. She's not accepting any blame in this and conditioning you to accept the tragic circumstances she put you in. And now she goes and badmouths you to the rest of your family, even people you've never met, for something she caused? I'm sure that'll go down well when you tell them what really happened here, if you ever do. My point being, OP, you are not the a-hole. Nathalia says, woman with a similar condition here, not the a-hole at all. Cannot even imagine how traumatic your childhood and early adult life must have been for you. I hope you're doing a little bit better now. You feel so helpless when you don't even have access to basic needs like healthcare. I wasn't able to get my vaccinations and birth control until I was an adult. So sorry this happened to both of you. True. I was also thinking about how diseases like this take, on average, 8 to 12 years to be diagnosed, and women's pain is ignored by medical professionals for way longer than men's pain. That's not even taking into account a gaslighting parent who denies you pain meds. Are you thinking of endometriosis? The 8 to 12 years statistic is specific to endo. Yep. The studies on how doctors treat women's pain are not specific to endo. It took me a good 4 years to get diagnosed with fibroids because every doctor I saw tried to diagnose me with anxiety and I had to start over again with a new doctor. Finally, I went to see a new doctor and just said, you will do these tests on me, and they tried to argue that I needed a referral to a psych, and I said I'd do that if they did my tests first. They found the fibroids, but by that point, they were so large, I had to have a hysterectomy. That doctor at least apologized to me for not listening when I came in, but yeah, doctors are terrible with women's pain. Posted by user Jinfort, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling off my daughter for a horrible comment towards her sister, even though she feels like she's correct and justified? My older daughter is now 31, and my younger daughter is 27. 4 years ago, my oldest daughter's fiancé left her for my younger daughter a month before their wedding. Yes, it is as terrible as it sounds, made even worse by the fact that my younger daughter was 2 months along in her pregnancy. I was extremely disappointed in my younger daughter. They both claimed they were in love and are still married till now. It literally destroyed our family. My older daughter has banned her sister from coming around her, which everyone has been accommodating all these years. It makes holidays very stressful, but it is what it is. I've tried my best to have a good relationship with my grandchild while navigating the family issues. My older daughter has made very cruel comments about my grandchild, which I've ignored. That's a mistake on my part for not shutting it down. In February, my older daughter dropped by our house unexpectedly and encountered my younger daughter, son-in-law, and grandchild. It was very tense, and my younger daughter broke down in tears and tried apologizing again, and revealed to us that my grandchild was likely on the autism spectrum. And my older daughter immediately replied by saying that it's sad that the karma of cheating parents is inflicted on the child, and that maybe this will be a lesson for my younger daughter. My son-in-law and my oldest daughter got into a huge fight, and everyone left in tears. I've always been sympathetic to my older daughter, and have usually taken her side, but I think what she said is extremely out of line and mean. I told her what she said was unacceptable, and that she needs to apologize, or I will not be having her over anymore. She then told me that my parenting is atrocious, and it's no wonder my younger daughter turned out to be a bad word. I've clearly messed up somewhere to have raised 2 daughters who made such cruel judgments. But am I wrong for taking a stand on this issue? Both my daughters were lovely people with a lot of success, but our whole family is so angry and sad now. My oldest daughter is the complete opposite of who she used to be, but she refuses to go to therapy even when I offer to pay for it and come with her if she wants. I'm just heartbroken. You're the a-hole. I'm giving the older daughter a pass because her comment was justified. Let's break down exactly why. Finding out your fiancé was cheating a month before the wedding is a huge blow. I can't imagine how horrible it would be to find out that it was with your own sister and that she was pregnant. That is grounds for permanently removing those 2 from your life. Now we have the mother. What was her reaction? I'm extremely disappointed in sister, but she gave us the first grandchild, so I'm not going to rock that boat too hard. You make the holidays work, so it's obvious she has seen very little to no actual repercussions for what they did. Now, older daughter simply suggests the sister is getting her comeuppance and that she feels sorry for the child, and this is where you make your stand? This is the breaking point. A step too far? Jesus, OP. Could you make it any more obvious how much you favor your younger daughter? Your older daughter is right. Your parenting is atrocious. My oldest daughter is the complete opposite of who she used to be. No shit, Sherlock. Her fiancé cheated on her with her younger sister, and her family decided that was perfectly fine. While therapy probably would be helpful for her, therapy needs to be with someone you trust. Why would she want you there? You've more than shown her where your loyalties lie. Editing to add for a lot of comments, I never said the oldest daughter's comment wasn't an a-hole comment, but if you think the actions are justified, then you don't give them an everyone sucks here. The majority of my original comment addresses the justification, but there are other things as well. Oldest daughter wasn't the first to bring up autism. Her sister threw it in her face to garner sympathy. Older daughter isn't blaming any of this on the innocent child, and in fact, feels sorry that the child might be a vessel for karmic retribution. This is putting everything on the parents. If she wants to believe autism is a punishment, I agree that is an a-hole move. But I still feel her comment to her sister was justified, and the older sister's view on disabilities does not in any way reflect my own. You're the a-hole. Gotta agree with this person. You totally made it okay for the younger to cheat and get everything she wants. Then she tries to get sympathy and manipulate the older with a possible diagnosis that hasn't happened yet. What a horrible person you raised. Personally, I would cut off younger for being a trash person who is obviously a narcissistic piece of work. Not only this, but they didn't seem to intervene when the person who's half responsible for all this yelled at their daughter, who's really the only wronged party here. Just doesn't seem like the mother has ever stood up for the older daughter in this whole debacle. The son-in-law yelling at the older daughter should have instantly promoted the mother to jump in and defend her decent daughter. She has sold her morals for a grandkid. Meanwhile, if the older daughter ever has grandkids, don't be surprised if grandma is cut out. Can you imagine not just the parents, but the entire family, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, etc., showing up to this travesty of a wedding, and how that would have made the older daughter feel? We haven't been given information one way or another where the younger daughter and son-in-law had a big wedding, or eloped, or whatever. But my heart is sinking at the very thought. And Stress Relief comes in and says, "What is wrong with you? How is it acceptable to say that autism is some kind of punishment for the parents' transgressions when the autistic child is around? Innocent children shouldn't be dragged into the middle of this kind of drama. Autism is not a punishment, karmic or otherwise. Thank you. Good lord. I know Reddit treats cheating like a cardinal sin that should be punishable by death, but the kid is completely innocent. The kid is the one who has autism, and saying that his autism is punishment for cheating is unacceptable and cruel. Yes, the older daughter went through something horrible and incredibly traumatic. She is still a 31-year-old adult who knows better than to say that a child's autism is punishment for its parents' behavior, especially in front of the kid. Everyone sucks here except the grandchild. Posted by user VegetableAd8545. Titled, Would I be the a-hole if I forced my daughter to split her trust fund with her brother? My mother died back in March. Her estate ended up being a little over $1 million. She had the belief that only women should be inheriting as they need and deserve a leg up. She grew up in a very misogynistic home that favored sons to an extreme, then ended up in an abusive marriage to my much older than her father, where she had no agency until he died. She had 2 sons, me and my brother. There are only 3 grandchildren, my son and daughter, 2-year-old twins, and my brother and his wife's 8-year-old daughter. My mother decided to set the inheritance to only go to the 2 girls, who now have $500K each, while my son has 0. These trust funds are controlled by the respective parents. While the most fair situation would be to pool it and split it in 3, I can't control that. But in our household, we're in a situation where one of my children is getting $500,000 and the other is getting absolutely nothing on gender alone. This feels horrible as a parent, and technically I can stop it. I want to forcibly split my daughter's trust in 2, which would give both $250,000. This would be more fair. We have friends and family that are on both sides of the issue, and I honestly don't know what to do. I know it's considered a cardinal sin here for changing your opinion after the comments. I'm just going to say OP sucks. My original theory of splitting the money 3 ways is wrong. I'm going to say either talk to everyone and come to a fair deal, or don't touch the money OP. It's that simple. It's unfortunate, but it's not your decision to make. You're the a-hole. It was your mother's money, and this is what she wanted to do with it. Leave it alone. Your daughter can make her own decisions on what is now her money later in life. This is what everyone here would say if it wasn't for gender-related favoring. I think everyone should leave their fortunes to whoever they like. Doesn't really matter if a brother or sister goes without a penny. Then again, I understand OP would be in a pretty hard situation if the money only goes to the girls. I would try to talk with the girls and ask them to give their blessing for sharing the money with the brother. Regardless of gender, OP has no right to mess with a child's inheritance. It's the principle of a dying or dead woman's wish not being honored that hits hard. Would you say the same if all the money went to the son? That's Grandma's point though. Until fairly recently, the norm was for the entire estate to go to the male heirs, even if there were closer and more senior female heirs. It sounds like she was old enough to have experienced that injustice herself, and it affected her deeply enough to make sure that didn't happen to her granddaughters. If you suffered in life and want other people to suffer as you did because you turned out fine, you did not in fact turn out fine. Seriously, it blows my mind that so many people in this thread think it was wonderful for Granny to leave her grandson out of the will because she was abused by men in her life. That poor kid now has to grow up knowing that his family just assume he's going to become a misogynist. And that, my dear friends, is the sort of thing that could make him turn out to be misogynistic. Alternatively, OP might favor him financially or save up for his college, but not the daughter's because he needs it and she doesn't. Knowing kids and people, that might not stop the daughter from resenting the son. I hadn't thought about this, but I completely agree. The grandma discriminating against him for his gender could make him resent other people like his grandma, same way the grandma became discriminatory against men. I don't think you could legally do this. Your daughter could sue you for the money you gave away. It's not your money. Yup, I came here to say that. You are opening yourself up to liability when your daughter comes of age, or if someone else intervenes now in her interest. Look, Of course it's not fair, but that's the thing about inheritance, wills, trusts, estates, legacies, etc. It has nothing to do with fairness. It wouldn't be fair if your daughter inherited nothing because she was a girl, or adopted, or gay, or biracial, etc. Under such circumstances as here, your late mother would be the a-hole. Sorry for your loss, I don't mean to make light of her passing, but the money would still belong to the son only, and taking half would be stealing. However Robin Hood you may feel it is. Technically, neither of your kids are entitled to inherit from grandma, but one has. It's called a windfall. If you want to be fair to your son, start saving for him specifically, since you know your daughter has $500k in the bank, and be happy you don't have to worry about funding both kids, only one. Alright, and I think that's where we're going to leave today's episode, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed the content today. If you guys loved watching it as much as I loved making it, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel already if you haven't. Tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below, maybe like the video, who knows. I'd also like to take this time to thank my awesome Patreon and channel members. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably be homeless on the streets of Ireland, crying, Irish dancing all over town. It would just be a mess. But no, for real, you guys are up on the screen now. Thank each and every one of you guys. And if you personally want to join the club yourself, there are links down in the description below. There's also the join button next to the subscribe button. Small monthly fee, but hey, it goes a long way to help me create more awesome content. Well, with that said, guys, I hope you do have a lovely day, night, sleep, evening, day at work, day at school, whatever you're up to. I hope you keep awesome today. You're looking amazing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.